An extremely loyal and well-behaved friend will betray you in a difficult situation. Relatives or even family members, in unusual circumstances, speak against you and cause your work to get tangled. While you are on the edge of the abyss and you desperately need help, your friend and partner leave your back and not only does not help you with his behavior, but he does things that hurt you. Probably all of us were more or less in such a situation. Depending on the extent of their mistake and the sensitivity of that situation, we forgave or punished these erring friends or relatives. But what happens if your life is in danger? What decision do you make at that moment? What will you do if your closest friend turns his back on you in a situation where your life is in danger and you need his help? You must have been a little surprised by hearing this and curious to know what story we have prepared for you in this video. So follow the rest of the video. We research and study to find answers to the questions we ask ourselves in the cave of solitude. A journey to the mysterious inner world and the secrets hidden in the pages of books helps us to know God, that is, the truth and the meaning of life better. To join us on this discovery journey, subscribe to the Hidden Secrets channel and press the bell icon. Probably, most of us have seen the painting of Da Vinci's Last Supper. An imaginary painting that Leonardo da Vinci, a famous Renaissance painter and scientist, drew of the Last Supper when Christ passed with his companions. In this painting, many details are drawn according to the stories of the Bible and the character of every friend of Christ, and Da Vinci was a great and strange master in conveying emotions and drawing a character. For example, Da Vinci depicted one of Christ's companions, that is, the person who betrayed him, in a way that not only does not convey a positive and good feeling to people. Instead, his face shows his disbelief and disbelief in the words of Christ. According to the stories of the Bible, Judas Iscariot reveals the hiding place of Christ to the Roman soldiers after receiving 30 silver coins. However, according to the Bible, after some time, he regretted his act and tried to return the coins and release Christ from prison, but he failed. But Judas is not the only one among the 12 companions of Christ who denies him. Rather, there is a closer friend who leaves Christ behind under challenging situations and leaves him alone. The story of St. Peter's denial of Christ is an important and painful event in the New Testament of the Bible, which is talked about in all four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is the story of the struggle that a man of faith does with his own temptations, fear, anger, and worries. The struggle shows that in difficult situations, a person can go against all his beliefs and do something that will bring him regret for a lifetime. It was in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Christ and his disciples gathered for prayer and important talks the night before his crucifixion. Christ knew that the time of his suffering was near, and he asked his disciples to be awake during prayer. Among these disciples, Simon Peter was one of the most passionate and devoted followers of Jesus. When Christ was praying, he told his disciples that tonight is the last time I am with you, and someone from among you has betrayed me. He also looked at Peter and said, "Indeed, I tell you, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." These sentences were very heavy and unbelievable for the companions of Christ, who saw him as a manifestation of God and believed in him. But it didn't take long for strange things to start happening on this long night. The betrayal of Judas Iscariot, who had previously revealed the place of Christ to the soldiers and priests, caused the soldiers to arrest Christ the same night and take him to court for a night trial. After Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, his companions left him alone out of fear and ran away from that place. But 2 of them, Peter and John, stopped running and tried to find Jesus. While they were worried about their lives and their teacher, they went to the high priest's house, where Jesus was supposed to be tried there. The first denial. It was a cold night. Those who were in the yard had lit a fire with coal. Peter sat next to them to warm himself. In another room, Jesus was being tried. The servant woman who had allowed Peter to enter could recognize his face better in the light of the fire. So she persistently asked him, "Aren't you also one of this man's disciples?" Peter was very worried and embarrassed. He was trying not to attract the attention of others. So he went to the entrance of the house. He denied that he had been with Jesus and even to one of those who knew him. He said, "I neither know him nor understand what you are saying." In Matthew's Gospel, it is said that Peter started cursing and swearing. In other words, he was ready to swear to the truth of what he said and accept any punishment if it was proven otherwise. The trial of Jesus was still going on, and apparently, it was taking place in a part of the house that was higher than the courtyard. Peter and others who were in the courtyard could see the coming and going of those who were brought there to testify. The second denial. A little later, another servant pointed to Peter and said, "This man is one of them." Peter again denied any association with Jesus, this time swearing, "I do not know that man." Third denial. Peter's Galilean accent strengthened the assumption that he was with Jesus and that what he said was not valid. Moreover, one of those in the courtyard was a relative of Malchus, the same one whose ear Peter had cut off. He accused him and said, "Didn't I see you with him in the garden?" When Peter denied Jesus for the third time, according to Christ's prophecy, the rooster crowed at that moment. Immediately, Jesus, who was apparently standing in the room of the house overlooking the courtyard, turned and looked at Peter. His gaze penetrated the depth of Peter's being. He remembered his teacher's words, which he had said only a few hours before in the garden. Imagine how Peter was feeling. He, who knew what a big mistake he had made, went out of despair and cried bitterly. But how did this happen? How could Peter, who was completely sure of his faith and loyalty, deny his teacher? In that unfair trial where Jesus was presented as a criminal by distorting the truth, instead of siding with an innocent man, Peter turned his back on the one who had the words of eternal life with him. St. Peter's bitter experience shows that even a faithful and loyal person can easily lose his balance if he is not prepared for untimely difficulties or temptations. Even if that person, Peter, is the most faithful friend of Christ. In the Gospel of John, after Christ's crucifixion and resurrection and his return to his companions, Jesus turned to Peter and asked him 3 times, "Do you love me?" And all 3 times, Peter, who was deeply sorry for what he had done, firmly says yes, and this moment is recorded as Peter's forgiveness and salvation in Christian literature. In this video, we saw one of the strangest stories of betrayal and being left alone.